Hello, everyone. Thanks for attending the webinar. My name is Dale Yee, and I work for the Washington College Access Network as the Communication and External Relations Manager. And today on this Wednesday webinar, we're going to talk about how the College-Bound Scholarship Repledge and using college knowledge materials can help to support a college-going culture in your school and specifically support college-bound scholarship students think about college options or pathways and life beyond high school. So I hope everybody is really excited and ready to get going because I am super psyched as well. So, like I mentioned, I work for the Washington College Access Network, and our mission's here on this slide here, but we're committed to making significant change in our state by partnering with partners such as WSAC, or the Washington Student Achievement Council, and OSPI, thank you so much for hosting us, and college readiness practitioners to support all students and help them graduate from high school and access post-secondary education. We collaborate with K-12 schools and districts, state agencies, existing college access providers, and community-based organizations. So we work with a lot of partners across the state. And as you can see on our slide, our big mission is to just increase post-secondary enrollment for all Washington State students with a laser focus on underserved populations. And so the way that we make sure that we're trying to serve our underserved populations is by really doing a strategic initiative and a strategic support around the college-bound scholarship. And so we work with staff to support students who have the college-bound scholarship. As many of you know, the college-bound scholarship program is an early commitment of state financial aid to eligible students who sign up in middle school and fulfill the scholarship pledge. The bullet points on here are actually the pledge components. So graduate from a Washington State high school with a 2.0 GPA or better, have no felony convictions, be income eligible as determined by completing the FAFSA or the WASFA, enrolling in an eligible college within 1 year of high school graduation. So the scholarship combines with other state financial aid to cover the average cost of tuition at comparable public rates. It covers some fees and a small book allowance and can be used at over 60 2- and 4-year public and private colleges and universities in Washington State. So at the moment, I believe there's about 280,000 students that our college-bound scholars have signed up and are going through the pipeline right now. So your question is probably like, how the heck do you help serve all those 280,000 students? That's a lot of people, right? So we have essentially like a 3-pronged strategy that helps us do this and make sure that we can scale our services. So we do this by strengthening schools, offering customized training, supporting college readiness teams, and promoting key statewide awareness campaigns. So I'm just going to go a little deeper into like each of these 3 components. So our training school teams, our team works with school staff in middle and high school. We work with community-based partners, and we work with nonprofit organizations to train staff on the college-bound scholarship, making sure that everyone understands not only how to get students signed up, but how to also support them throughout their high school journey, and eventually how to help students access their scholarship as they transition out of high school and into whatever post-secondary pathway they choose to go into. We also develop college knowledge products and toolkits, which I'll be going into a little bit more in this presentation. But we've developed a number of plug-and-play toolkits for school staff to use with students. A lot of our tools have been designed to support students and have actually been developed with students and have students in mind. So our products are pretty tested out there in the field is what I'm trying to say. And finally, in the last component is student engagement campaigns. We provide opportunities to engage with students around key high school milestones to help you develop that college-going culture in school and like provide opportunities for you to foster conversations with not only juniors and seniors who are thinking about college, but we're talking freshmen and sophomores to start thinking about what their life looks like after high school. So that's our 3-pronged strategy. So I know looking at this picture, That's what sometimes we feel like on Fridays. Sometimes that's what our students feel like, every day of the week. And so the question is, how do we motivate students to think beyond high school? And that's where our campaigns come into play. We develop these campaigns to create these moments where you can talk to students, where you can create Instagrammable moments, shall we say, where you can create Snapchatable events that get students talking to each other, that get younger students engaged in thinking about, what does this look like as a senior if I'm getting here and the senior gets to do this. So hopefully we're going to increase that motivation level from 0 to over 10, over 100. This is a couple of stat data that I have here. According to an Eventbrite survey that was conducted in 2014, 82% of millennials crave experiences. And when I say crave experiences, I mean crave like concerts, live festivals, comedy shows, etc. And 69% of those students experience FOMO. And the experience of FOMO is what drives them to show up, share, and engage. So you're probably asking what FOMO is, and FOMO is the fear of missing out. And so when I say that we're trying to create these campaigns to create that college-going culture in your school, we're trying to get students to be like, what's going on? What's happening? I saw Jenny down the hallway, and she was like signing out this really cool college pennant and posting it on the wall, and it looked really fun. I want to do that too. How do I get involved in that? And so we're trying to leverage that desire of students, taking selfies, which is super commonplace now, and creating that conversation. And these campaigns, these toolkits, these opportunities around these milestones really build that culture in the school and really help support that college-going culture. All of our campaigns focus around this reframing the story arch philosophy. A lot of students think that, man, I just got to get through my senior year of high school and then it's all over. I can stop going to school. This is what I need to do and then I'm done. But the reality is that high school graduation is not the conclusion of the story anymore. We really need students to start thinking about college aspirations, and these student engagement opportunities reinforce the idea that college is just the beginning of this next chapter, right? It's like, how many times can you go around the Monopoly table? It's high school graduation is pass, go, collect $200, and it's one more time around the circle. So we want students to start always thinking about high school graduation is not the conclusion, but it's just the beginning. And so when we talk about different student engagement campaigns, this year we have 3 that we have launched or are in the process of launching. One is what happened in the fall and is actually sort of taking place throughout the entirety of the academic school year, which is FAFSA and WAFSA completion specifically for college-bound students, meaning that we have selected 32 of the schools with the highest college-bound scholar count and the lowest FAFSA completion rates to work specifically with those schools to make sure that we can increase college-bound FAFSA and WASFA completion rates, because we know that FAFSA and WASFA completion rates are the #1 indicator to make that students are thinking of potentially going to college. So if we can get students to complete the FAFSA or WASFA, that's one step closer for them to actually enroll and walk on a campus. So we're also supporting WASAC's effort for the +5 push, where we're hoping to increase FAFSA and WAFSA completion by at least 5% this year. And so in that effort, our regional officers who are located across the state are working one-on-one specifically with those schools to figure out ways to hold different events throughout the year, maybe hold weekly FAFSA filing or WASFA filing lunches during lunchtime, and do that whole engagement strategy. During the winter, which is right now, we're hosting college-bound Repledge campaign events across the state of Washington. And this campaign, which I will be going to in just, which I'll be going in more depth in just a little bit, really is intended to engage college-bound scholarship ninth grade students and remind them of their commitment and motivate them on the importance of post-secondary planning. So that's what's happening right now. And the thing that I think is probably one of our signature events that we've sort of gotten a lot of excitement around are our college signing celebrations that will be launching really in the next couple of weeks, if not by early March, where we're highlighting the senior class students who have made the life-changing milestone of committing to a post-secondary option. As many of you may have known, this was essentially a Michelle Obama Reach Higher, Better Make Room initiative that we really took on in Washington State. Last year, we had over 125 sites across Washington that held some sort of college signing celebration that recognized all of their high school seniors for committing to plans beyond high school, whether that was attending an apprenticeship program, whether that was a 2-year or 4-year school. These were all things that seniors, and they had their little moments in high school where they were able to recognize their efforts for that. So those are the 3 milestone campaigns that we really feel like if schools were able to galvanize around, that it would be a great opportunity to build that culture, like I said, starting in 9th grade all the way through their senior year. I would say one thing, what's really interesting is that our college signing celebrations that we host during April, May, and June, a lot of feedback that we usually get from principals are like, we totally understand this is for seniors. And then after the event is held, and it's usually like a school-wide event, they're like, oh, wait, we get it now. It's actually for our sophomores and our freshmen who are like, I want to be on that stage 3 years from now. I'm thinking of my moment when I get to walk across the stage and everybody gets to cheer for me. So it really builds that culture supporting post-secondary education and supporting underserved youth. So as I mentioned, we're currently in our college-bound Repledge campaign at the moment. These are the top 3 goals that we have for the college-bound Repledge. And let me, just a little bit of history about the Repledge is, like I mentioned, we have a bunch of regional officers that are out in the field, that are working with schools, that are working with community-based organizations. And a couple years ago, probably 4 years ago, they heard like, oh, some high schools were doing these events that were reminding students that they had college-bound. And so we heard about that and we're like, this is a great idea. And so we sort of took that idea and made it a best practice for the state and worked with the Student Achievement Council to make sure that there was a certificate and everything that schools could use. So the first goal is to just remind students that they have college bound, and use pledge activities to engage them around future planning. So, and we all know that reminding students who have signed up in 7th or 8th grade is massively key to making sure that they meet all their eligibility criteria. So that's just the first baseline goal. Hi guys, remember you have college bound, yay! The second goal is to get updated student contact information by having them sign up for the college bound listserv. I understand that students, when they sign up in 7th grade, probably put down a parent email address. And so what we're hoping to do is to get updated contact information from students and sign them up for the college bound listserv, which is really cool because they essentially get regular emails, so consistent and constant contact from the Washington Student Achievement Council about ways to get prepared for college, about things to think about in high school to make sure that they are getting college ready. And eventually, as they get older, the emails change to here's ways to get ready for like whatever college path we are going on. So the college bound listserv is a really good way for students to constantly get reminded that they are a part of a program and that they do have the scholarship if they meet all the eligibility criteria. Fun little story about the listserv is I was talking to a student at an event last year, and she said she unfortunately didn't get a lot of support from her school, but she said the listserv was what actually helped her realize how to get through high school and how to make sure she was able to access her college-bound scholarship. So there's a lot of good information in there. So part of the idea behind this Repledge campaign is to make sure that students actually get that information in the right fashion. And finally, we just want an opportunity to highlight these students for making that commitment early in 7th and 8th grade and celebrating the opportunity that that College Bound offers to them, and making them realize that, hey, this is a scholarship, this is tuition, like this will help you get there. So don't like write college off right now because school is too hard right now or you don't see a purpose behind it. You know, let's think about what life after high school looks like. So those are the 3 goals that we have for the Repledge. And I'm just going to get all 3 on here. And we strongly encourage that the College Bound Scholarship Repledge supports 9th grade students for a couple of reasons. And those are the 3 bullet points on there right now, which are pretty staggering statistics. So up to 40% of 9th grade students in cities with the highest dropout rates repeat the 9th grade, but only 10 to 15% of those repeaters go on to graduate, right? So 9th grade's a tough year. 29 out of 51 states see their largest leakage in the education pipeline occurring during the 9th grade, where students drop out of school. And most high school dropouts fail at least 25% of their 9th grade courses, while 8% of high school completers experience the same difficulty. So in all the research, basically it says that 9th grade's a tough year. It's a huge transitional year for some students. It means changing to a different building. It's also the first year where a lot of students are receiving letter grades that have GPA weight. And so if they don't do well their first couple of terms, it really reflects versus getting a satisfactory pass or a no pass for their grades. And so there's a lot of elements that are going on in 9th grade that make 9th grade a really tough year. And so we want to make sure that we tell students about this opportunity beyond high school that they should aim for. The idea is always aim for post-secondary education. We also know that typically students may not think about college planning until their junior or senior year of high school, which we all know is a super stressful time because there's SAT testing, there's ACT testing, there's state board assessments, there's like college application process, college tours, all those types of things that happen during those 2 years. The idea is that if students are earlier, then there takes a little bit of pressure off those 2 years in trying to cram all that planning in the last 2 years of high school. And if students start thinking about what career they're interested in, and then potentially what post-high school plan and or pathway lines up with that career, then they'll be able to sort of plan out their high school career to make sure that they're lining up to whatever post-secondary option that they want to go to, in addition to thinking about, so if I go here, then I can get this job. The idea is to have that essentially like college fit conversation with them really early on so that they can plan as they go. And moreover, we just know that the vast majority of jobs in our state require some sort of education beyond high school, and that's just the facts. And based on our current rates of college enrollment and completion, we're not on track to meet our state's goal of 70% of the population holding a post-secondary credential if we continue to go at the rate that we're going, right? So the idea is let's find ways to increase that post-secondary pipeline. I'm making a really big case for you all. So here's another slide that just recently came out. This is just some information to help drive that point home for talking to students earlier about college and career options. So check out this WCAN post-secondary enrollment study that was recently released, where students said the following, and it's really tiny. You can actually go to the WCAN website if you're interested in seeing the one-pager infographic. But what I really wanted to pull out were the 4 bullet points that students really said that they needed more support around in regards to College Bound. So the first one is they're uncertain about scholarship requirements and eligibility. So that's like one that's totally possible to change in regards to communication. The second was they wish their schools had started talking about the benefits of college and exploring careers earlier. The third being a class that explains regularly for college prep. And the last one is almost all plan on attending post-secondary education, but about 1 in 5 students are unsure when they will attend. And we all know that College Bound, there is sort of a clock attached to that, right? So we need to get them to think about enrolling right after high school graduation. On top of that, in a survey that was done about 4 years ago, some results showed that in that small sample size of about, I want to say like 100 students, 19% of those students could not remember if they even signed up for College Bound. So we have some work in regards to programmatic communication that we can do. So this next couple of slides we'll address those those two bullet points that talk about not being sure about the requirements of eligibility and wishing schools had started talking earlier. So that's essentially the goal of the Repledge campaign. Not sure if you saw that connection, wanted to make sure that was apparent. And so some of you are probably like, yes, Dale, I am totally on board. We are gonna do this, we're gonna do this at our school. So all we need you to do is log onto our website and click on the link right there, and I'll show you an easier way to get to it so you don't have to write that entire link down. But that link will take you to our College Bound Repledge page, and all we need to do is identify the number of freshmen that you have enrolled at your school using the portal. There is a toolkit online that has a lot of tools that you can utilize, and then if you're interested, taking pictures and posting them online. It's super simple, and once you complete that form online, we send you these free College Bound Repledge guidebooks. They're super pretty, and they have a lot of information in them, as well as activities that you can do in classes with those books. I have engaged early in here because students said they wish their schools had started talking about the benefits of college and exploring careers earlier. This book is a very tangible way for you to help students figure out how to engage early. Because this is our current campaign that we're in, and we do have books to send out completely free, I do want to go a little bit into what the book holds so that you can actually see what you're getting if you sign up to do a Repledge activity. So, and I'm sorry that the text is cut off a little bit. That first page right here, the all about it, is a really simple, easy, high-level explanation as to what is College Bound, what it covers, and what it doesn't cover, and it gives you some dollar amount institutional maximum award dollars that you can look at. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see in all the pages, there's an activity that you can actually do with your students. This activity is come up with a school that is a public two-year school that you would be interested in attending, and so students might have to look up what that is and then write 2 schools that they're interested in. The second page of the book is the pledge, and it goes into what exactly students have to do in order to remain eligible and make sure that they receive their scholarship dollars. And it just touches a little bit on the ideas of what could I get if I went to this type of school. So if you went to a technical college, for example, maybe you could go into manufacturing or healthcare technology. Or if you went to a 4-year college, you could think about robotics engineering, education, or accounting. And these are just some of the careers, but we wanted students to start thinking about, hey, these are all the different types of jobs out there, and here's the type of education I might need in order to get there. And so that's actually the activity on the right-hand side of the page talks about what you need to do in order to get into that school that you're thinking of going. So it starts talking about admissions requirements a little bit. The third page is high school choices. It talks a lot about just basic things. One of the things that we heard feedback from focus groups were students that are freshmen just did not know what it meant to earn credits. So we were just defining earning credits. We were defining how important taking math classes is and taking a rigorous course schedule is. We were talking about just things that colleges look for, and also basic things that are needed to graduate, such as completing a high school and beyond plan. So that is a really high level view of what students need to do in high school to make sure that they graduate from high school. And then the activity on the right-hand column outlines, what do I need to do to graduate from X school, right? And then it compares it to what some of the admissions requirements are for different types of post-secondary options. So a typical 2-year school would look like this, and then you can compare what you need to graduate from high school with what the requirements are at a 2-year school. So you can start thinking of like, what maybe I need to take 4 years of math instead of only 3, in order to get into the school I'm looking for. Oh, on this page, it talks about ways to pay, which is a very high level view of just getting students to think about the fact that there are other ways to pay for college other than what they think about, which is maybe that they have to have all scholarships to pay for college. So this gives a slight definition into different types of ways to pay for college and giving the idea that, you know what, there's a lot of ways to pay and there's a lot of money out there that will help you pay for college. And the activity on this page on the right-hand side is coming and getting students to think about what the cost of attendance really is. So getting that understanding that, hey, maybe if I go to a 2-year school, or if I go to a technical school, or if I go to a 4-year school, they have different prices attached to them, and maybe one's more affordable to me than the other. And it also gets students to think a little bit more on the lines of, I have tuition through College Bound, but there's also other things like an athletics fee or transportation that I might need to pay for parking or a bus pass, or all these different things that we've noticed that when students get to their senior year of high school and they're graduating and they're about to enroll, they're like, what? There's all these other things that I have to think about. So again, it's just another way to have that conversation early. I don't have a screenshot of the last page of the book, but it's probably what I think is probably one of the coolest parts of the book, which is it's just a really fully fledged out glossary that defines all the words that are highlighted. As you can see on this page, there's a bunch of terms that are highlighted in yellow. Those terms are all defined in really super easy to understand terms so that students, if maybe they don't know what fees or tuition or room and board mean, would define it in the glossary. So there's a ton of resources out there that you can use using this book to talk to students about life after high school. So in order to do that, you obviously have to say that you're hosting a Repledge activity, and we just want to be really clear that a Repledge activity does not have to be a super huge, large, all 9th grade school event. You could do it in shifts. You could do it during advisory. You could do it one-on-one. There's a lot of different ways to host a Repledge activity. The one that I think is cool on here is a College Bound time capsule. So last year, one school had, there's downloadable sort of like photo booth pictures that students can write like, in 2 years I hope to, and then they can write what their hope is, or I went in, by the time I graduate I will be, and they can fill in the blank. So what one school did was they had students fill out those forms and they folded them and put them in a shoebox, and then they dug a hole in the back of their school and buried it, and then with the idea that they're gonna dig it up 4 years from now, and so they can see like how much their lives have changed and if they're on the track that they thought they were. So I mean, that's really cool. A lot of schools do alumni panels where sometimes they can get a current College Bound student to come and talk to their high school about how College Bound really helped them afford to go to college. So like I said, the activities range from super easy one-on-one to, you know, much more complicated, and depending what you have capacity for, we're really excited that you're just having the conversation with College Bound students in general. Here's just some screenshots of the site hosting toolkit. We wanted to give you as many tools as you could to make sure that your event was super plug and play. So as you can see, there are sample information letters to families. So if you wanted to host a night event and you wanted to invite families to come, for example, all you do is you can just put your school logo on there. There's a couple of like insert school name here places, and you just have to swap that out and put that in, and you can print that out and send that home to your families. There's a sample administration letter, which let's say you need to get approval from your admin in your buildings to make sure that you're able to host this event. It explains as to why it's important to host a College Bound Repledge and how you're a part of a larger statewide movement to make sure that we're talking to College Bound students. As you can see, there's a Repledge student engagement examples. There's about, I want to say like 4 to 5 pages of examples that we gathered from people last year that did. So if you're like, I have no idea what this could look like, these are there's a ton of great activities that give you the exact like description, the materials that you might need, and like how long this event could be. So there's a lot of different tools in the downloadable toolkit that's on our website that you can utilize. So make sure to visit that if you need some help on figuring out what your activity is going to look like. Oh, okay. So I didn't know if I should pause here for a little bit in case anybody had questions about College Bound Repledge at all. Okay, so it sounds like there's no questions, which I'm going to take as a good sign that people totally agree and know everything that they're going to do, and that they're literally logging online right now to sign up for a activity. So the next thing I wanted to cover was the college knowledge materials. In this next section, I really want to focus on this third bullet point of what that post-secondary enrollment survey found. And it's highlighting that they want a mandatory class during the school day to help with college prep and career counseling. So we developed some materials that can be used to engage students regularly, whether your school has an advisory period or not. And that's the next section that I thought would be a really interesting thing to cover in the amount of time that we have moving forward. So about 3 years ago, we started asking students about their knowledge of College Bound and their level of comfort with the entire college prep process, the college application process, and the college enrollment process. And the bullet points here are the top 3 themes that we heard in initial focus groups. So number 1 being the College Bound scholarship and the steps are just not well understood. We also heard a lot that students and families received inconsistent information on preparing for college. This was really highlighted in schools that had sort of college prep classes and other schools that didn't. Schools that had college prep classes just knew about a number of other resources that were available online, and schools that did not, and students that did not participate in college prep classes just didn't have that information. And current materials are not easily accessible, are not available in multiple language, and use terms that are confusing. And so after hearing the feedback from students and seeing some gaps in the communication of College Bound in general and what that could look like for college access, we decided to basically launch into this larger project to see if the feelings of these same 3 themes resonated across the state. So large, gigantic bubbles. It took us 2 years of continuous feedback loops to really make sure that our materials worked. We did 4 different rounds of focus groups and surveys with students. We got students that were involved in community-based organizations. So when I say that, think of Boys and Girls Clubs, United Way, housing authorities. We also talked to a lot of students, which was really awesome, in like marketing classes in high school to look at our information, etc. And we also talked to over 800 students that were mostly college-bound students that came from rural, urban, and suburban communities across the state. And we found that those same 3 themes resonated across all of those students across the state. So we kind of figured, okay, we might have something here that needs some addressing that we want to tackle. So from that came our college knowledge project, which are 23 handouts covering the most requested college readiness topics. All these topics were student tested and student approved. These digital handouts will also be, we're about like 95% done with the translations, and we translated them into English and the top 4 languages that were spoken by ELL students and home language students in Washington State, so Spanish, Vietnamese, Somali, and Russian. In addition to that, all the materials will be ADA accessible online as well as downloadable. We also found out from this project that students wanted information directly from a counselor because counselors were their trusted resource. They didn't want a random email from a random group that they did not know, which is totally understandable because students are very savvy nowadays with all the phishing attacks, etc. So they wanted it from a trusted resource. The top category by far was paying for college, but a really close second runner-up was the importance of college, and they wanted this information using common terms. So we were able to develop all these materials, and they're free for download for everybody. what's really cool is that we were able to sort of parse them out in a lot of different ways. And so you can download all 23 handouts as a comprehensive handbook for students if you wanted to. You could download that by subject chapter if you wanted to. You could download them by grade level timeline, or you could download them by individual one-pagers. A lot of the information is appropriate for students from 9th grade all the way to their senior year. It just sort of depends on what you think your students are most interested in. And I believe the first couple of chapters that we're going to cover in a little bit are also really useful for younger populations. So we're talking junior high, middle school, for 7th and 8th graders to start thinking about what high school is going to be like, and to start thinking about what college, why they should sign up for college, essentially, in College Bound. So these are the 6 different topics that the handouts cover. Chapter 1 is all about college and career. It talks literally about like why you should think about going to college, and it talks about the salary ranges and like how much money you can make. And college is not just a 4-year college. College is a 2-year school. There's a technical school. There's other different types of pathways that you can use. So it really outlines that pretty well. There's even a one-pager, which I know we can do more, but there's a one-pager right now on apprenticeships, which a lot of students just didn't even know was an option for them. Chapter 2 is on getting ready. Chapter 2's getting ready chapter really goes into high school preparation for college. So that talks about, like I said, completing high school and beyond, plan, etc. But it also talks about taking a rigorous schedule, how if you take more than the minimum requirements of math, it'll probably help you in the long run, because college math is a requirement at a lot of different levels. Chapter 3 is devoted just to College Bound, completely to College Bound. So we're talking the first page of College Bound is just, what is College Bound? The second page of College Bound talks about the pledge. And the third page of College Bound, which I think really resonates with juniors and seniors who have College Bound, or it's talking about accessing your scholarship and what that looks like for you as you're thinking about going to college. Chapter 4 I really like, and it's also been really popular, is about paying for college. Paying for college covers everything from how to fill out the FAFSA and how to fill out the WASFA, and demystifying some of the process and the terms, in addition to talking about some of the best places to find scholarships and the highest dollar amounts for scholarships. In addition to, and probably my favorite page in that chapter, is understanding financial aid award letters. So what happens when a student gets that award letter? This is a great time to download it. I know there's a lot of nuances out there, but at least it gives students a baseline of how to start reading what the award letter looks like. Chapter 5 talks about applying for colleges, and so this would be great for probably juniors around springtime to talk about all the elements that are required and needed to apply to colleges, what types of colleges require what types of items, and it helps you prepare for that. And chapter 6 goes into, and this is what I think seniors should be looking at right now, is enrolling in college. So what does that look like? Did you know you need to take immunization reports to school? Like, did you know that going to orientation is really helpful, and you really should go to orientation and don't just brush it off? There's a lot of things that we try to make sure that students were thinking about in that summer, in that spring and summer term before heading into college for the fall. Here's just a really quick sample of what that looks like. Like, there are grade level based timelines. So if you wanted to go through these regularly, it's categorized by month and around what time we're suggesting you could cover these topics to students monthly. And if you look at the entire booklet, there are it's sort of like a color and a grade level code that goes with it. So 2 purple means chapter 2, which is the purple chapter for grades 9 and 10, that you could cover all about high school and benefits of going to college. And that might be something that you wanted to cover in September and October. These are not necessarily saying that you have to cover that. We just, when we were creating the content, we were running content by students and practitioners around the time frame that they were saying that these topics could potentially be covered. So there's a lot of information on a lot of different ways, rather, that you could use the information to supplement what you might already be doing in advisory, or if you don't have advisory, you might already doing one-on-one in your counseling sessions with students. So there's here's just a high-level example of some of the potential plug-and-play uses that we've heard of people using in the field. We did roll this out in September or in October. But this is just some of the things that we've heard people doing. Some schools are including it in packets with their senior packets for college signing celebrations that they're thinking about doing. Some schools are packaging it with the Repledge booklet that they're getting, and they're printing out some other one-pagers that they think will really resonate with their freshmen and sophomores. A lot of people were using the Chapter 4 material for 12th year and FAFSA events. We all know that students are not done filling out their FAFSA, so if you're thinking of using a FAFSA event and need something flashy and pretty and cool, like, please feel free to download these materials and use them. We've had people tell us that they're using it in their advisory or their homeroom groups. We've also heard of practitioners taking the entire booklet and showing it to their administrators and saying, look, we could do an advisory. Look, here's all the materials that we would need to do it with. So it might also be like a way to leverage potential resources that are already out there that you could use. Creating lesson plans using the one-pagers. Some schools have used them to sort of through their, like, I think their Skyward systems or their, like, sort of communication systems with their students and parents. They've used them as attachments. I know one school down south is using them and emailing out to students monthly. Here's a one-pager that you should think about. Here's a one-pager that you should think about. And I was talking to that counselor and saying that, you know, that's amazing because that's actually how students wanted it. In the month that they need to be thinking about it, that's when they want that email. So I was telling him, like, you'll have to let me know how it goes with students as they see that. So, you know, here's just a few of the ways that you could use them. I'm sure there's other ways out there that I just am not aware of at the moment, but here's some really cool plug-and-play uses. I'm nearing the end of my presentation, so if you have a question, start thinking about it. But this is a picture of Washington State. I totally know that. And it's color-coded, so if you go to our website onto the Contact Us page, these are the regions that, just to give you an idea of how large the regions our regional officers serve. We have 8 team members out in the field that live and work in the areas that they serve to connect you with local resources, local organizations, local things that are happening to support and build that college-going culture. This work would not be done without them. They are road warriors out there doing good work and, you know, developing partnerships and helping you all make sure that you're able to support students in the way that you can. If you go to our website, if you look at the color of the map and you match it to the droplet next to the team member, then you're able to see, if you don't already know who your regional officer is, it has their contact information next to the colored droplet. So if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to them. Yes, I can totally post a link. So the question was, can you post a link on where to get college knowledge materials? I'm so glad that you asked that, because if you visit us on our page at WCAN.org, there's a couple of ways that you can get it. I know this slide looks a little crazy, but let me explain. The 3 circles on the bottom of the website that you can see right now, the one to the farthest left with the student holding the book, that is how you get straight to our Repledge page. You just click on the bubble and it'll take you there, where you can sign up to get those Repledge guidebooks. The middle bubble is talking about college signing celebrations, which is coming up soon, and it'll probably go live in the next couple of weeks. And the very far right bubble that has those 2 people in that picture right there is a direct link to get to our college knowledge materials. So you just need to go to the homepage, WCAN.org, and click on that 3rd bubble, and it'll take you right to that link. I have a couple other things I think might be kind of cool. On the About Us page, like I said, if you hover over the About link, there's a Contact Us menu that will drop down, and then that is where you would find that map. Under Resources, not only do we have the college knowledge materials linked there, but we also have college-bound specific outreach materials. So for example, let's say that you want to do a presentation to middle school. says middle schoolers about College Bound. There's actually a plug and play PowerPoint on there that you can download and present. Also for high school students, if you need a College Bound how to talk to high school students about it, there's also a plug and play downloadable PowerPoint on there as well as the College Bound Repledge certificate is downloadable on there as well. So there's a ton of resources under the resource tab. And right now we also have, there's also a workshops tab there where we have, if you would like to host a College Bound training at your school where you get staff together and you want to learn about College Bound, there's a link to that. Will email us to let us know that you're interested in that. But right now we also are, and I'm going to do a shameless plug, we're also hosting regional spring counselor workshops throughout the month of March that will be having across the state. So the idea would be to go to that workshops link and look at that and see, and these workshops are going to be amazing. We're collaborating with WCAN and OSPI to do them. So there's going to be some really amazing things covered. One about like just counselor updates, high school beyond updates, and statewide updates. But then we're also going to be having an expert panel that's going to talk about best practices on how to do these in the school. So you'll have peers from your region that you're going to be able to hear and learn from and like swap ideas with, which is fabulous. And then finally at the end of the day, which is probably the creme de la creme of everything, there'll be a financial aid presentation. I know everybody's so excited for that. There's a financial aid presentation where we're going to talk about like how students can fund their education. And there's also another workshop on basically understanding financial aid award letters. So this would be perfect for those of you working with seniors currently that might need to get a brush up or might gain something from learning from those workshops. So all of those things are basically accessible from our homepage on our website. So like I said, shameless plug, be sure to look out for the spring regional workshops. Okay, yes. So any questions? So one of the questions that came up, like I said, was a link on how to get college knowledge. So it's that third bubble on the right-hand side of the homepage. That's a direct link there. A current list of the 60 plus colleges participating in College Bound. The best way to do that is to go to Ready, Set, Grad, and there's a list of eligible institutions that you can, you can either download a PDF of that list, or it lists them by school type, and you can like link to each school, so it'll kind of redirect you out to the school's website if you decide to do that. But that would be the best place to get that. If you are unable to find that, I'm sure I can email the links directly to you all, and then you can email it out with the recording of this.
Sure.
So there's that possibility as well. So we can make sure to get all that information out to you all, and I'll make sure to give both direct and website links as well. So we'll have all of that information. Maybe I'll leave this up just in case you all want to see like where to get what, all that information. That's my presentation. I will say, like I said, our regional officers do some great work out in the field. So if you haven't had a chance to meet or talk to any of them, please feel free to reach out. They're there to help and support you as you do work in your schools and support you as you work to support College Bound students. There's a lot of work out there, and we have an amazing team. So I think if you don't have their information already, make sure to visit our Contact Us section. I'm not sure if there's any other questions. I don't think it looks like there's any other questions. So I might have just given you 10 minutes of your day back, but thank you so much for attending our workshop. I really appreciate it. If you have any questions, please feel free to email. I'll leave my email address as well. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. I hope you learned something from this, and I'm sure we'll get to talk to each other soon. Thank you.